Good evening, it's Monday, the 14th of July, and here's what's making news around the world on World News Tonight. Aviation incident. Air India crash investigation reveals critical chip malfunction as cause of fatal accident. Wildfire emergency rapidly spreading. Fire near Grand Canyon forces full evacuations and damages key infrastructure. Zoo attraction. New elephant enclosure at Werribee Open Range Zoo amazes visitors with innovative design.
From Colombo, this is World News Tonight with Akhil Qureshi.
Good evening once again. India's Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau reports a chip malfunction caused the fatal Air India crash. The technical failure disrupted critical systems, leading to the tragedy. Authorities continue investigations to improve aviation safety and prevent future incidents.
A preliminary report into last month's fatal Air India crash depicted confusion in the cockpit after the plane's engine fuel cutoff switches flipped almost simultaneously and starved the engines of fuel. The Boeing 787 Dreamliner began to lose thrust and sink shortly after takeoff. The report from Indian accident investigators did not say how the switches could have flipped to the cutoff position during the flight.
From the findings,
Former pilot and senior lecturer at Buckinghamshire New University, Marco Chan, says he believes it was a chip malfunction rather than human error that led to the crash. He points to a previously issued service bulletin from the engine manufacturer advising maintenance of a flawed chip to prevent signal loss. Chan says it would be a challenge for pilots to accidentally move the switches into the cutoff position. At the crash site, both fuel switches were found in the run position, and there had been indications of both engines relighting before the low-altitude crash, the report showed. The Boeing 787 Dreamliner was bound for London from India's Ahmedabad. The crash killed 260 people, making it the world's deadliest aviation accident in a decade.
Australia's Defence Minister stated the country will not pre-commit troops to any conflict, responding to Pentagon pressure for the clarity of its own role in the US and China clash over Taiwan, emphasising Australia's caution approach to regional tensions.
Australia will not commit troops in advance to any conflict, the country's defence industry minister said on Sunday. Pat Conroy was responding to a Financial Times report that the United States has been pressing allies on what they would do if a conflict broke out over Taiwan.
One, we don't engage in hypotheticals, we don't discuss hypotheticals. But secondly, the decision to commit Australian troops to a conflict will be made by the government of the day. Not in advance, but by the government of the day, and that's our position, and it's been long established.
China claims democratically governed Taiwan as its own and has not ruled out the use of force to bring the island under its control. Taiwan President Lai Ching-te rejects China's sovereignty claims, saying only Taiwan's people can decide their future. The US does not offer a blank check guarantee to defend Taiwan, but it has been pushing allies to step up defense spending, saying it's part of President Donald Trump's America First agenda of restoring deterrence. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese stressed on Sunday that his country was considerably increasing defence spending. He told reporters that Australia supports the status quo on Taiwan and is against any unilateral action there.
We want peace and security in our region. We don't want any change to the status quo. That's Australia's position today. That was Australia's position last week. That's been a bipartisan position for a long period of time.
Albanese was speaking in Shanghai at the start of a 6-day visit to China that's likely to focus on security and trade. He watched on as Tourism Australia and Trip.com Group signed a deal to promote Australia as a premier tourist destination for Chinese travellers.
The largest joint military exercise on Australian soil is underway in central Queensland, featuring advanced weaponry from multiple allied countries. The drill enhanced cooperation and readiness, highlighting Australia's strategic role in regional security and defence partnerships in the Indo-Pacific.
Weapons of war.
Australia's High Mobility Artillery Rocket Systems, or HIMARS, only arrived months ago. They've been rolled out for Talisman Saber's opening act.
Today was the first time the Australian Army has live-fired our long-range multi-domain platforms, being the HIMARS, so it is a remarkable day.
Weapons that can reach more than 400 kilometres. Howitzers roll in as backup just inland from central Queensland's Shoalwater Bay. This is the biggest military training exercise to take place in Australian territory.
We get to put into practice what we train hard to do.
35,000 personnel working in unison. From 19 countries around the world, including the US, Germany, France, Japan, New Zealand and more, with the shared goal of keeping peace and order across the Indo-Pacific.
Exercise Talisman Sabre at the operational level is key for us on making sure that we maintain interoperability and combat readiness for the future.
We are stronger together. And in partnering with both our regional and partner nations, we provide like minds in the application of our firepower.
Malaysia and Vietnam are here as observers. China's expected to be watching too, from a distance. Our Governor-General cheering on a successful first day in the field to kickstart a 3-week defence spectacular unlike any other drill outside of war.
North Korea leader Kim Jong-un reaffirmed full strategic alignment with Russia following talks with Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov in Wonsan. Both sides pledged to deepen cooperation, with Pyongyang expressing unconditional support for Russia's military objectives in Ukraine.
According to state media, the two leaders met in Wonsan, North Korea's newly opened coastal resort area. Kim emphasized their complete agreement on key international and regional issues, underscoring North Korea's unconditional support for Russia's military objectives in Ukraine. Lavrov, in return, reaffirmed Russia's commitment to deepening strategic cooperation and strengthening bilateral ties with Pyongyang.
A small plane crashed shortly after takeoff from Southend Airport, 40 miles east of London, causing a massive fireball and thick smoke. Emergency teams rushed to the scene as authorities investigate the cause of the sudden crash.
Dramatic images showing a massive fireball in the sky and plumes of smoke over Southend Airport, 40 miles from London. Onlookers on the tarmac stunned.
Crazy. I think there's been a plane crash in Southend. Oh my God.
At around 4 o'clock this afternoon, police were alerted to what they're calling a serious incident involving a small twin-engine turboprop like this one. It was bound for the Netherlands. Initial reports suggest there was a collision. Flight radar shows the plane's path. Watch as it travels down the runway. One eyewitness says he saw the plane taking off, but just 3 to 4 seconds later, it started to bank to its left, then crashed into the ground. The incident triggering a quick emergency response. Police warning people to avoid the airport until further notice.
Let's take a short commercial break. More world news on the other side. Welcome back. Well, Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu appeared in Tel Aviv District Court today to testify in his ongoing corruption trial. Despite multiple charges, Netanyahu denies wrongdoing. This marks his first court appearance since recent military tensions with Iran.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu appeared in Tel Aviv District Court today, marking a significant moment in his ongoing corruption trial. This was his first appearance since recent military confrontations involving Israel and Iran, underscoring the high-stakes political environment surrounding the case. Netanyahu has consistently denied all wrongdoing, maintaining his innocence throughout the proceedings. The trial centers on allegations from a 2019 indictment involving multiple corruption charges, including accepting expensive gifts from wealthy friends and attempting to influence regulatory decisions in exchange for favorable media coverage. Despite these serious accusations, Netanyahu has pleaded not guilty and described the trial as a politically motivated effort to undermine his leadership. The charges against Netanyahu are some of the most serious faced by a sitting leader in Israeli history. He stands accused of leveraging his political power to secure positive coverage from media tycoons, allegedly offering regulatory favors in return. These allegations have sparked heated debates within Israeli society about corruption, governance, and the rule of law. Court sessions have become a central focus of national attention, often polarizing public opinion. Supporters view Netanyahu as a victim of a political witch hunt, while opponents argue that the trial is crucial for upholding accountability and justice. Despite the legal challenges, Netanyahu continues to lead the government, commanding substantial support from his coalition, which complicates Israel's political landscape. Netanyahu's ongoing trial occurs against a backdrop of heightened regional tensions, including recent escalations between Israel and Iran. These security concerns add an additional layer of complexity to the Prime Minister's position, balancing governance, national security, and legal battles simultaneously. The trial has put Israel's judiciary and the political institutions under intense scrutiny as the nation grapples with the unprecedented situation of having a sitting prime minister facing criminal charges. How this legal process unfolds could have profound implications for Israel's democracy, political stability, and its approach to both domestic and international challenges moving forward.
Workmen install electricity poles on the Navajo Nation, bringing power to families like Christine Shorty's for the first time. Over 10,000 households in the vast Arizona reservation still lack electricity, making this vital for relief from extreme desert heat.
Christine can finally have her TV and her fridge on at the same time. Like many Native Americans living on the Navajo Nation reservation, she's relied on a generator and small solar panels, which have provided barely enough power. But thanks to a team of volunteers, she's now connected to the electricity grid after decades of waiting.
Sunrise, that was our only light, and then sunset. Right now at night we can use the electricity, which is really, really good.
A few kilometers away, Gilberta says she's been waiting for electricity all her life.
I've been personally waiting 23 years, which is, within the next year, you'll get electricity. And that consisted of 23 years. And then finally, now we see the poles and we're like...
Electricity is still a luxury in this region, home to the country's largest Native American reservation. More than 10,000 families remain without power, which means no air conditioning, even though America began producing electricity over a century ago. To address the gap, local authorities launched a humanitarian project back in 2019. Since then, electric companies from across the US have been volunteering their services, working for free around 2 months each year to bring light to those still waiting.
We're still trying to catch up with the rest of America. And so that surprises many people. They're saying, why are there third world conditions that exist here in the United States? The greatest country in the world. Why is this happening?
The region is also being hit hard by climate change. Seasonal lakes are drying up, leaving some livestock dying of thirst.
A fast-moving wildfire near the Grand Canyon's North Rim has forced full evacuation after destroying the historic Grand Canyon Lodge and key infrastructure. Officials warn of hazardous air quality from a chlorine gas leak, restricting access to inner canyon trails.
Park authorities said Sunday that the Grand Canyon Lodge, the only lodging inside the park at the North Rim, had been destroyed by the flames and evacuation orders were issued. The blaze, dubbed the Dragon Bravo Fire, rapidly grew to more than 20 square kilometers, consuming the historic Grand Canyon Lodge, visitor center, administrative offices, and a wastewater treatment plant. Park authorities evacuated all staff and approximately 500 visitors from the North Rim, which opens seasonally. The wastewater plant fire triggered a chlorine gas leak, leading officials to restrict access to inner canyon trails until air quality is verified. Nearby crews are also battling the White Sage Fire, which has burned over 40,000 acres north of the park.
French President Macron announced plans to accelerate military spending, doubling the defense budget to $74.8 billion by 2027. This move, 3 years ahead of schedule, aimed at addressing growing global security threats, including Russia's aggression and terrorism.
On July 13th, Macron announced an additional $7.6 billion in defense funding over 2026 and 2027, pushing France's military budget to $74.8 billion in 2027, which would be double the $37.64 billion in annual spending when Macron took office in 2017. Making an address to the armed forces on the eve of the Bastille Day national holiday, Macron described the move as essential in response to unprecedented threats, including Russia's aggression, nuclear proliferation, terrorism, and global instability. He said, to be free in this world, we must be feared. To be feared, we must be powerful. He also said details on the 2026 budget plans will be announced on Tuesday by the Prime Minister.
Time for a short commercial break. More world news after this. Welcome back. In rural Vermont, engineer Patrick Schlott is restoring old payphones across town to help residents facing poor cell service. He covers all call costs, ensuring the community stays connected despite modern communication challenges, providing a vital lifeline. Take a look.
At this workshop in rural Vermont, what's old is new again. A blast from the past that looks cool and sounds cool. But for Patrick Schlott, it's his way of paying it forward.
It started as sort of a hobby, and it spiraled into something that is a pretty cool public service.
For the last year and a half, Patrick has been buying old payphones and fixing them up before putting them to work around town.
There are large swaths of the state without cell phone coverage. The Vermont ethos is very neighbor helping neighbor. So I figured that's the way I can contribute.
Inspired by similar efforts in cities like Philadelphia and Detroit, Patrick has installed phones at places like this general store, a rest stop, and a library. But they're not payphones, technically, since they're free to use, sort of. Patrick pays for each call out of his own pocket.
I call it a pay less phone because you don't need change.
Holly Legue is the director of the Latham Memorial Library, home to one of the phones.
These kids wouldn't have another option to give their parents a call if we weren't able to offer this phone.
In just a month, this phone made more than 200 calls by families like the Kramers.
There's a lot of times where Ian and my other kids come to the library after school before I can pick them up, and they don't have cell phones yet.
Sometimes I don't know when I'm going to get picked up from the library, so I can just call mom or dad.
These phones, not just useful, they're turning back time.
There is just kind of a fun element. I mean, in libraries, we love to bring older technology into the hands of people who might remember it fondly or maybe have never seen it before. So it brings a lot of joy.
And Patrick's got new locations planned with the same mission. Neighbor helping neighbor.
That's the way I can contribute. Kids need to phone home. It doesn't matter why you need to use the phone, but that can be a positive benefit for the community.
Werribee Zoo's new elephant enclosure is drawing record crowds, quickly becoming the star attraction. Since its opening, visitors' numbers have surged as patrons flock to see the spacious habitat designed to provide a more natural environment for the elephants.
There's nothing like a bit of sibling rivalry. Meet 2.5-year-old sisters Kati and Ayara, who use their trunks as weapons and their bottoms to squash each other. The duo reminding everyone you don't have to be a human to be having fun these school holidays. These 9 elephants are right now the star attraction at Werribee. Since they arrived from Melbourne Zoo back in February, families can't get enough. Visitation is up 41% and a record 316,000 visitors have passed through the gates. It's a perfect place to visit these school holidays. Not only is entry free for under 16-year-olds, but there is plenty to see. The elephant trail is huge, the sanctuary spanning 21 hectares. That's the same size as Melbourne Zoo or 5 MCGs.
And with that, we come to the end of today's edition of World News Tonight. With the hopes of seeing you again, I'm Akul Qureshi, and we'll leave you tonight with the visuals of Super Pup stealing the spotlight at the new Superman screening. Also, don't forget to send in your feedback through our email address at feedback.ad24english@derana.lk or via WhatsApp line on 076 805 7933. On the other side, we've got Prashansa Gunavardhana, who'll be joining you next on Nightly Business Report. Thank you for watching. Good night.